All right, let's talk about something that I'm sure has driven you crazy at some point. You build this amazing AI agent, and it feels like, well, it feels like it's just guessing, right? Just wasting your time, your money on this total wild goose chase. Well, today, we're going to fix that. We're going to level up from those simple, reactive bots and start building agents that can actually create and follow a complex plan. It's all about making AI that thinks before it acts. I mean, seriously, think about it. Have you ever had an agent that just gets stuck? It's just hammering the same API call over and over and over again. Or maybe it's the one that takes this completely bizarre roundabout path to get to a simple goal, just burning through your tokens like there's no tomorrow. If you've been there, and I bet you have, you know exactly how frustrating that is. It really does feel like this super expensive piece of tech is just winging it. And this really breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you've got your reactive agents. Think of them like a driver who just jumps in the car with no map, no GPS, nothing. They just take one turn at a time, hoping for the best. And what happens? They get stuck in dead ends, they make costly U-turns. But a planning agent? Oh, that's a whole different ballgame. They map out the entire route before the key is even in the ignition. And that one simple shift in strategy, it makes them so much more efficient and reliable. We're talking about saving time, saving tokens, and frankly, saving yourself a massive headache. So that brings us to this really powerful way of thinking about it, which is the map then drive solution. Yeah, it's pretty much like giving your AI its own GPS. And this code just nails it. The idea is so simple. You map the whole route, then you start the car. And when we're talking about AI, what are those wrong turns? Well, they're those buggy function calls that can just completely derail your entire process. And wasted fuel? That is literally your API budget going up in smoke. Every single wrong step has a real cost. So planning ahead isn't just a nice to have, it's how you actually save money and resources. Okay, so how do we actually do this? How do we put this map then drive idea into practice? It sounds like it might be complicated, but really, the whole thing boils down to a super simple, really elegant 3-step workflow. Let's break it down. So first up, you have the plan step. This is where the agent lays out the entire journey, not just the next turn. It thinks about what could go wrong, it identifies risks, and it even defines the rules for when to just abort the whole mission. Then, and this part is absolutely crucial, we have the approve step. This is where you, the human, come in. You act as the final checkpoint. Nothing happens without your say-so. It's a huge safety net. And only once you give it the green light, we move to step 3, execute. The agent just goes down the list, carrying out the approved steps one by one. It's a really solid system of checks and balances. Okay, so we've got the basic framework down. Now let's get into a couple of pro tips to make this actually work in the real world. First up, we need to talk about avoiding what I like to call agent amnesia. And I'm not kidding, this is probably the single biggest risk you're going to face. An agent that just forgets its main goal after a few steps isn't just useless, it can be actively destructive. You know, it's like a delivery driver who forgets where they're ultimately going after making just 2 turns. It's completely pointless, and it could cause some serious problems. So, how do we cure this amnesia? Thankfully, the fix is pretty straightforward. First, you have to be relentless about reminding the agent of its mission. That means in every single prompt, for every single step, you include the overall goal, no exceptions. And second, you give it a memory. You keep a running history of what it's already done, and you feed that back to it as context. Honestly, that context is everything. All right, so once your agent has a solid memory, the next big hurdle is making sure the plan it creates is something your code can actually understand and use. And that brings us to pro tip number 2, building a reliable plan. Yeah, this idea is all about what we call plan reliability. Look, you just can't have your AI spitting out a plan as a big, messy paragraph of text. Your code has no idea what to do with that. Instead, you have to force it to output its plan in a super strict, predictable format, something like JSON. For any system that needs to run on its own, this isn't just a good idea, it is absolutely non-negotiable. And here are 3 simple rules to make sure that happens. First, dig into your model's API and find the setting that forces JSON-only output. Just do it. Second, you know how models love to wrap everything in those markdown backticks? Just write a little helper function that automatically strips those out. Easy. And third, and this one is my personal favorite, fail fast. If the JSON you get back is messed up or it's missing a key that you absolutely need, just stop everything right there. Do not let bad data get any further down the line. So there you have it. We've gone through the theory, we've covered the pro tips to help you avoid the major pitfalls. We've got the why, and we've got the how. So I guess the only question left is, Are you ready to actually go and build a smarter agent? All right, let's get our hands dirty. Here are 3 challenges for you to try out. For challenge 1, really test that approval loop. Make a plan, reject it, and see if the agent can come up with a better one. For the second one, force it to think harder. Lower the maximum number of steps it's allowed to take and see how it changes its priorities. And for the third challenge, test its safety protocols. Give it a really risky goal and check to see if it correctly flags the risks and sets up the right rules to abort if things go south. And that's pretty much the roadmap. It's how you build an AI that doesn't just react, but one that actually plans. These are the foundational techniques for creating agents that are more autonomous, more robust, and just a whole lot smarter. As these agents get better and better at planning out their own work, it really leaves us with a pretty big question to think about, right? What's left for us to plan? What are the new, bigger, more interesting challenges that we can tackle now? I think the possibilities are pretty amazing.